Good morning. It's Wednesday morning. Today we read Matthew 18:7, 8, and 9. Woe to the world for temptations to sin, for it is necessary that temptations come, but woe to the one by whom the temptation comes. And if your hand or your foot causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It's better for you to enter life crippled or lame than with 2 hands or 2 feet to be thrown into the eternal fire. And if your eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It's better for you to enter life with 1 eye than with 2 eyes to be thrown into the hell of fire. Okay, here Jesus is a little harsh and also, I think, a little humorous, just in a kind of a very subtle way. Because if you deal with temptation by cutting off body parts, what's going to be left? You're going to cut off your hands, you're going to cut off your feet, you're going to pluck out your eyes, you're going to cut out your tongue, you're going to, poke something in your ear. You're not going to have any parts left. He uses the image, it doesn't come out in the translation, but to be thrown into the hell of fire is to be thrown into the Gehenna of fire, which is from it's a Greek word that transliteration of the Hebrew, the valley of Hinnom, which is right outside of Jerusalem, and it was the garbage dump. And so it was a nasty place where everything was burning. They just had lit the dump on fire at some point, and it just burned for decades. Kind of what dumps do. And so this was a bad place to be. You didn't want to be thrown into that place because you'd just be on fire, and it was bad. It smelled bad. It was trashy, just yuck and on fire. So you don't want to be there. You don't want to be thrown into any of that. That's a punishment that he comes up with, that he mentions in several places. And Matthew frames this, though, around temptation. He's just said that we shouldn't be causing little children to stumble. So he says, woe for temptations to sin. It's necessary that temptations come, but woe to the one who brings that temptation. I wonder why it's necessary that temptations come. It's an interesting thing to think about, and I'm going to have to give it a little thought. I guess in some ways, sometimes people look at this life, human life in this world, as kind of a testing place. We're here, we're tempted, we're tested, and God wants to see who will withstand the temptation or not, and who will turn to Him or not, those kinds of things. I'm not sure I buy all of that, but it's one way you could look at the world and see the necessity for temptations. I also think that just simply to say, well, I believe is fine, but if you never have any temptation not to believe, if you never have any temptations to sin, then your belief is pretty cheap. And I think that that's one of the things that Jesus is getting at there. It's necessary for you to be tempted so that you can grow spiritually and learn to withstand these things. It's also not good for those who bring the temptations into the world, and that can be a problem as well. So as you face temptations, don't despair and start cutting off body parts, even metaphorically. Just realize that Jesus wasn't exactly kidding, but he may not have been entirely serious when he said those things. Sounds like he was, but I'm kind of thinking on the other hand, there's a little bit of humor going on. So take heart. See you tomorrow.